What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Take Three podcast. My name is Brandon, and as always, I'm joined by my guy Alex. And in today's episode, we're going to be covering the 2021 NFC South Division preview. This is going to be, I believe, now our third or our fourth division preview. We covered both of the East divisions, and then this will be number 4. We covered the AFC South as well. So if you have not checked those out yet, they're on the channel. They're under the NFL Division Preview playlist. They're easily accessible. They're also on Spotify. So definitely check those out as we get into this one. I mean, we're looking at a division that's kind of controlled by, it looks like it's going to be controlled by the Bucs again. The Bucs obviously Super Bowl champs last year. And then we kind of got 3 teams that made quite a few changes, a couple quarterback changes, and then just the Falcons kind of rehauling their offense and kind of not really doing anything with their defense. Kind of weird, but before we jump into this thing, any quick thoughts on the NFC South?
I'm excited to get into it because we disagree quite a bit about one of these 4 teams, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. We will definitely get into that, but I mean, let's jump right into it. So the first team that we're going to cover in this preview is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. They finished 4-12 last year, another down year in Atlanta, considering just a couple of years ago they were in the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan was an MVP, and everything was kind of joyous in Atlanta. Their 2021 over under on the wins is set at 7.5. I mean, it's kind of like a fair line considering they still have Matt Ryan, they still have that veteran guy, brand new head coach, but they have offensive weapons. So it's like if that offense can somehow do their thing and carry the defense, they could kind of maybe try to make it interesting. I don't really know, but I mean, obviously when you look at their additions, they added Kyle Pitts at 4. They went with the tight end super athletic out of Florida over at quarterback. They went with Richie Grant in the second, and then they got O-lineman Jalen Mayfield in the third. They also added Deron Harmon, Cordarrelle Patterson. He can kind of play. He's listed as a running back, but obviously he's played wide receiver, kick returner, kind of does a little bit of everything. They went corner with Fabian Moreau, and then they picked up Mike Davis to kind of shore up that running back position. And then when you go over to their losses, obviously the Julio Jones trade was their big move this offseason. They shipped him out. The writing was on the wall. So he's out. Then they lose 3 of their safeties in Ricardo Allen, Keanu Neal, and DeMonte KZ. And then they also lose their starting center in Alex Mack, which, I mean, just for me, before we get into this thing, that's a pretty big one, right? The center on the O-line he's the quarterback of the O-line. So when you lose your starting center, maybe it's good they didn't go with the rookie quarterback and they let Matt Ryan, because Matt Ryan's a veteran, so he can kind of navigate that. If you go with the rookie quarterback and then you lose the starting center, it's kind of interesting. But I mean, right off the bat, I have the first thing I'm going to jump into with the Falcons is Kyle Pitts going to make sense at the end of the season instead of going with somebody like Justin Fields at quarterback when Matt Ryan is obviously towards the end of his run?
At the end of the season, I don't know. In the long run, possibly, because he is that much of a freak athlete, and he's that guy that could be the outlier, especially when you lose a dude like Julio Jones, who's been arguably the best wide receiver of his generation. You kind of plug in Kyle Pitts, not a receiver, but he's a tight end. You're hoping that he turns into like Travis Kelce, just all pro every year, just a massive threat down the field. But the Falcons are interesting to me. They're funny because they kind of retooled and like reshaped the offense, but the offense was never really their big problem to me. Like the one thing they could always do is score points. So it's like retooling the offense instead of really focusing on the defense. I thought was a little bit of a questionable decision. And even the Kyle Pitts pick, I mean, he's a great player, and I think he's going to have a really good career. But Matt Ryan's at the tail end. You could have gotten a rookie, maybe even traded Matt Ryan, retooled there, or let Matt Ryan be a tutor and show the rookie the ropes. But quarterback's the most important position. I think it's really going to be interesting to see how long Matt Ryan plays and if he finishes his career in Atlanta and how many like good years he has left. Just Atlanta's decisions seem kind of questionable to me.
Yeah, they're super weird, right? I mean, when you look at taking Kyle Pitts at 4, it's probably the safest pick in the draft. Like his bust rate is probably the lowest out of like if you're going to go with any of the quarterbacks. Obviously, quarterbacks in the league, we never know. Like anything could happen. Trevor Lawrence could be a bust for all we know, and he went at 1. So it's kind of like they went with the safe pick. And yeah, as you said, they spent all offseason retooling this offense, but it's like you guys had the worst defense in football, like or one of the worst defenses in football, I should say. I don't really have the numbers on their defense, but it was definitely a bottom tier defense in the league. And that was really the problem. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball when they have 3 three safeties go, and then they never really addressed it. They went, obviously, Richie Grant. They had a Deron Harmon, but it's like that was where you had to pick it up, right? That's where they were losing games. And, yeah, Matt Ryan, I mean, when you look at it numbers-wise last year, he wasn't terrible, but then when you watch some of the actual games, I think he just makes he's getting old. He makes questionable decisions at times in the red zone, and it's like, as you said, in a draft where there was 5 quarterbacks and it was kind of stacked with quarterbacks, it's like, what is this team doing when you look at it? Are you going to have another opportunity? You're looking at the quarterbacks going into 2022, that draft is thin. So it's like, are you trying to win? Or are you you guys going to be bad and then try to reach on a quarterback the following year? Are you going to play the long haul game and go for, I think, 2023, the quarterback from Clemson that's there now? I think it's DJ Ukulele. Like, you're going to play that game, but then it's like you retooled this offense to kind of compete, but now you don't know what Matt Ryan's going to give you. You obviously have a bad defense. So it's like, how many games are you going to be able to squeeze out of this offense? So they're in it's a weird spot, especially with a rookie head coach in Arthur Smith.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think Matt Ryan, we see him making more mistakes and turnovers because I feel like he feels that his roster is not as good as it used to be, and he's got to, like, make up for it. Kind of Tony Romo-esque back in his career. I don't, if you remember correctly, like the Dallas Cowboys went 8-8 like 3 or 4 seasons in a row, and a lot of it was Tony Romo throwing interceptions when it mattered most. But really, they were early in the game because Tony Romo was slinging the ball so well, and that's kind of what this Falcons team feels like. Like, the defense just isn't really good enough to get it done, and then Matt Ryan, former MVP, trying to recapture a little bit of magic, and then like he feels like he needs to make big plays and kind of put the team on his back, and then it kind of results in mistakes down the stretch. And ever since they had that terrible Super Bowl collapse, it feels like Atlanta's constantly retooling to try and like recapture that magic instead of just going full rebuild.
Yeah, they're doing interesting stuff, especially with the division that's like with the Buccaneers. There's a clear-cut team at the top that's controlling, and it's like, you guys can play. You get your quarterback now, and in 2 years, when Tom Brady's most likely, I'm going to say, probably out of the league, like he probably retires in 2 years, and then you have your quarterback that's groomed and ready to go. But obviously, they didn't do that. So now, when you look at it, if Tom Brady retires in 2 years, they could possibly be drafting a rookie quarterback. So then it's like a free-for-all, but then it's also like a team like the Saints or the Panthers, where they could have 2 or 3 years of Sam Darnold under their belt, and they already have a head start on you. It's a quarterback-driven league at the end of the day when you look at it, and they whiffed on that chance. I'm with you. I think Kyle Pitts will be solid. I think that offense is going to be fun to watch with Matt Ryan slinging the ball around to Ridley and Pitts, and it'll be interesting to see what Arthur Smith tries to do, since in this offense, obviously, he doesn't have a Derrick Henry to hand the ball off to 25 times a game. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of scheme he really tries to run with this group. Because obviously we saw they were usually pass heavy with Dan Quinn and his guys. But I'm going to –
sorry to cut you off. That's exactly what I was thinking, though, like what kind of scheme they're going to do, because Dan Quinn was so pass heavy, and then you mentioned it earlier, you lose a center like Alex Mack, which is a big deal. The offensive line got a little bit worse, and he doesn't have Derrick Henry to lean on. And, like, I hope he doesn't try to do a run-heavy approach, because I don't think it's going to work well.
Exactly. And, I'm going to jump straight in. It's another one on the offensive side of the ball. Can Matt Ryan lead one last run? Does he have any little bit – can he squeeze any one last bit of magic? I'd imagine he has 1 to 2 years realistically left. I don't know. He's 36 now. It's like, are they really going to hold on for this long? Can he somehow rejuvenate this team one last time and maybe put up some numbers to shock everybody?
I think he could if he had the roster around him to do it. I don't think he can with this roster. I think he'll rejuvenate our fantasy teams, and DFS will be fun on Sundays with some Falcon stacks with Kyle Pitts, Ridley, and Ryan, because, the only way they're going to win football games is to be shootouts, right? So the second that defense starts giving up points and hemorrhaging points, you're going to want Matt Ryan all day throwing the ball, and Ridley and Pitts. I think it's going to be great fantasy-wise, and I don't think it's Matt Ryan's fault. Like, if he had a better team around him, I think he could make some magic happen again. He is 36, but Aaron Rodgers is older. Tom Brady's older. We just seen it, right? So I think he's capable of doing it, but it's just realistically, I don't think he can with this roster. There's just too many holes.
Yeah, that's facts. Maybe he should have threatened to join once Aaron Rodgers went back to Green Bay. He could have threatened to join Jeopardy, and he would have been able to get Devontae Freeman back on that to get one of his guys back, similar to Randall Cobb. But I'm sort of in the same boat. It's not really like his fault, but he's going to try and do too much. I mean, obviously, yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch him and Pitts. I'm actually kind of down on Ridley just because the loss of Julio Jones. I don't think like he's going to be the main guy, right? So he's not going to get any more. It's not going to be a lot of single coverage. Like he's a good route runner, but you're going to lose a lot of those single coverage looks when you got a guy like Julio that defenses focus on.
I don't think you got to worry about Ridley with that at all because, like, Julio didn't suit up a good amount of games last year, and Ridley just got a massive amount of targets. I think the volume is so high for Calvin Ridley that he's going to get, like, really good numbers no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. We shall see. And then, one last thing on the Falcons, since there's not really that much to cover with the Falcons. Can their defense do anything? Like their defense it was bad. They just let up points and points and points. It's can it turn it around at all? They didn't really add anything. So it's like, are we looking at pretty much a rinse repeat of last year's Falcons team?
I mean, the only thing that really comes to mind is like new coaching, new scheme, and maybe a little bit of player development in the offseason so they come back better and maybe a little more healthy so they could be a surprise unit. I mean, if the defense becomes a surprise unit, then the Atlanta Falcons could actually surpass their 7.5 win total as the line. But I really don't think so. I would take the under on the win total. I don't think the defense can put it together. And then Matt Ryan is going to be like really good fantasy-wise, but I just don't think they have enough. The defense, if you can't stop guys, it doesn't matter how well you score, right? It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to work out.
Yeah, I just don't think they have enough. Maybe if an AJ Terrell at corner, if he can kind of put something together. I believe they still have Dante Fowler too, if I'm not mistaken, on the DM. Maybe if he can put up double-digit sacks and maybe they get a little some good Deion Jones play and some guys, as you said, kind of surprise us. They could really push. I mean, they have the offense, so it's like if the defense kind of shows up, maybe even half as good as they can be a middle of the pack defense and not a bottom tier defense in the league, they could definitely surpass the wins. But yeah, I mean, similar. This will be another agreement, as it seems that we have quite a few on this. I don't think the defense, you won't see much improvement. They didn't add enough, in my opinion, and I would be heavy on the under, and I'd be shocked if they surpass it. So, I mean, I'll go right off the bat with my Falcons prediction that I did a couple of days ago after going through their schedule. I had them at finishing the season at 6-11. I think their offense will be good enough to steal some games against some questionable teams, maybe even steal a division game if they could. But I just think the defense is going to be too bad to really steal games against guys like Tom Brady and some other teams that they face on the schedule. So I had them at 6-11 when I went through.
I don't even have them winning 6 games. I got them at 4-13. I just think I'll be tuning into Atlanta Falcon games. I'll be stacking the Falcons in DFS quite a bit. I'm going to hope that they're lower owned from week to week, but I just don't think they're going to get a lot of real wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. They're one of those teams. They could win 6, 7, 8 games, or they could completely get hurt and banged up again like they've been since they went to the Super Bowl and kind of fall into that 4-win territory.
I wouldn't be surprised if they finish the season with the most like one possession losses.
Could be. Right. But I mean, that's really it for the Falcons. We got the next team on the docket, another interesting team that kind of made some switches in this offseason. We got the Carolina Panthers. They finished 5-11 last year. They also have a 2021 over-under of 7.5 wins. It's a very interesting number in my eyes. Obviously, their big moves, they added Sam Darnold. He got rid of Teddy Bridgewater, and then they eventually rescued Sam Darnold from the New York Jets. They obviously drafted J.C. Horn first round, which is questionable. They had another team that passed on a quarterback. They went out and got Sam Darnold and believed that Joe Brady and Matt Rule can fix Sam Darnold and that they did not need to go with a quarterback in the first round. They added Terrace Marshall Jr. He's kind of the odd man out of those LSU receivers. He was sandwiched with the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase group. He was the third man in there. He was pretty good. They got him in the second. They added Hassan Reddick, Cam Irving, Denzel Perryman, Morgan Fox, and A.J. Boye to bolster that secondary and that defensive side of the ball. And then on the offensive side, they lose Curtis Samuel and obviously Teddy Bridgewater. And then they cut longtime defensive tackle Kawan Short and Trey Boston. So before I jump into my slate, what do you see in the Panthers as we just initially look at this team?
The Panthers are a team I like. Sam Darnold, I still believe in simply because he was under Adam Gase, and I can't say enough negative things about Adam Gase as a head coach. I thought he was just atrocious, and he really was just not fit for the job at all. And Sam Darnold is still very young, and he has the talent. We've seen flashes of it, right? I think we can remember that highlight play against the Niners. It looked like a Patrick Mahomes pass. I think it was a sidearm, beautiful throw for a touchdown. Sam Darnold has all the tools. I think if he can put it together, and he's got Matt Rule, and Matt Rule did a really good job with Teddy Bridgewater, who just doesn't. Teddy Bridgewater doesn't exactly have all the physical tools. He's a intermediate thrower at best. And I think Sam Darnold can air it out and make the throws. And then as for their defense, last year the Panthers were able to put up points, right? Even without Christian McCaffrey healthy most of the year and having Mike Davis at running back, they were still putting up points. Sam Darnold's reunited with Robbie Anderson. He really liked him when they were together with the Jets. And Anderson had a good year last year with Bridgewater at quarterback, so I expect him to do even better with Darnold. And then the Panthers added a lot to the defense. J.C. Horn looks like a really legit cornerback one. It's his first year, so he might struggle a little bit, but I think by the second half of the season, he's going to get it going. I have a lot of faith in J.C. Horn. I think he was a fantastic pick. I think he's going to be very good. And I have much more faith in the Panthers defense than the Falcons, because we asked that question earlier, right? Like, can the Falcons be a surprise defensive unit? And I don't really think they can. I think the Panthers actually have a chance to be a surprise defensive unit. I think they could get it together and like really play some high level defense in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the addition to Hassan Reddick, they have Brian Burns there. They added AJ Boye, obviously go with JC Horn, so you can see they really focused on shoring up that defensive side of the ball as they went with when they brought in Sam Darnold, and they kind of trust who they have on offense. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey will come back off a year where he was kind of banged up last year. They still have Robbie Anderson. They still have, who is it? DJ Moore? Yeah, DJ Moore from Maryland. He's a burner. So they got guys. They also have franchise tag Taylor Motton, I believe. So that's a left tackle that they're going to bring back, which is crucial to Sam Darnold's success. But I mean, I'm going to get right into it. Can Joe Brady, can he turn around Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold a sloppy tenure, but obviously I agree with you that a lot of people have sloppy tenures when they're with Adam Gase. He's not exactly, we watch Ryan Tannehill have the same issues, and eventually went to Tennessee and he turned it around. So will we see Sam Darnold turn the corner with Joe Brady and the new scenery in Carolina?
I honestly think he will. I think Matt Rule and Joe Brady are the guys to do it. They're smart guys. They're good offensive coaches. You saw them scheming their offense really well last year with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, and Sam Darnold's definitely an upgrade. And I just believe he has the physical tools. And the reason I'm high on Sam Darnold going into this season is because of his age and him having to work with Adam Gase. If he was a little bit older, I'd be nervous, but I think Sam Darnold has a chance to develop into a really good starting quarterback. If he doesn't like play well this year and he doesn't really show flashes in Carolina, I maybe he's really just not that guy. Then I think this is kind of his last chance to kind of prove that he was worthy of that number one pick, and that the Jets were just kind of in disarray, and it wasn't really his fault. The team was never healthy. It was never a good roster, and this is his chance to show. And this is Joe Brady's chance and Matt Rule to show that they have great offensive minds and can fix Sam Darnold.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Sam Darnold has all the tools. When you look at a quarterback, he's got the size, he's got the arm. He's still young. He was with just a bad group, I think. It wasn't really a fit. Obviously, he went to USC, so there's big expectations out there. But I just think the New York Jets, when he went there, Adam Gase, it was just a bad fit. And now he gets that change of scenery. He's with Joe Brady, who's labeled as a quarterback guru. His offenses are pretty good. I mean, obviously, last year we watched him get production with Teddy Bridgewater, and then with no Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey was banged up for so long, and he was still able to get production out of Bridgewater, who obviously you mentioned doesn't really have the arm. He's wearing the two gloves. He's not exactly a gunslinger. So I think they can really kind of let the offense open up more. Sam Darnold's more of a gunslinger. He's got the arm, and I agree. I think he will turn the corner. I think he'll definitely. I don't know if he'll be amazing, but I think he'll definitely show that he's not a complete bust. Like, I think he'll show some potential. Whether it's long term, whether he's going to be their long term guy, who knows? But I think that Joe Brady and Matt Rule will get him coached up, because basically it's setting up. I mean, if Joe Brady can get Sam Darnold coached up, he's basically secured himself a head coaching job right after the season. So he's kind of bolstering his resume with Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold's so young. I think it'll be good to get out of New York too and be in Carolina. It's a laid back atmosphere. It's not really that much pressure. You're not going to have the papers on you. And he can just get back and play football.
Yeah, and that's a good point with the Joe Brady because, like, he's got a lot at stake, right? Like, I think he definitely lands himself a head coaching position if Sam Darnold comes out and has a career season and the Panthers are above 500. But let me ask you this hypothetical about Sam Darnold. What do you think his ceiling is as a quarterback?
Talking about
Like, if he does what we think he does, right? Joe Brady can turn him around, and Sam Darnold with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, good weapons. Like he goes out there and has a really good season. Like, what do you think that ceiling is? Like,
I don't know. He's like a riskier quarterback. It's like almost. I'm trying to think. I mean, he could be like I don't know, maybe like a middle. Like I don't know if I'd go top 10 guy. Like he could kind of fit himself in that 15, like a top 15 quarterback in the league. Kind of, he's like weird. He's a slinger, kind of like how Jameis Winston was in Tampa Bay. Like I don't think he's going to be like that super clean guy. Like I think he'll still make mistakes even with that group of weapons. That's just him. We watched it at USC. That was kind of the question with him coming out is, can he clean up the mistakes? Can he clean up the throwing motion? I mean, I think if he hits, I think his ceiling, he could be like maybe a top 12 guy. I'm not going to jump this ship and like throw him into the top 10.
you think he can be as good as like peak Tony Romo? Tony Romo was a gunslinger.
Yeah. I got to see. I'll take a rain check on that. We can. I'm not going to come on this. I don't know because Tony Romo, I hate the Cowboys, but he was a pretty damn good quarterback.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think he gets a lot of hate because his defenses were really bad. And the one time he had a good team, they went 12-4 and lost in Green Bay, right? So I think Sam Darnold's ceiling somewhere around Tony Romo, which is like a pretty damn good quarterback. Never quite an MVP candidate type guy, but like pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'll say his ceiling. He could be a franchise guy. Like if he hits the peak, like he could be the guy in I was about to say Tampa. He could be the guy in Carolina for the next decade. Like if he gets everything together, Joe Brady turns it around. Like they won't have to worry about the quarterback position if he hits his peak, for sure. I would say.
That's fair. I think he could also turn into like a Mark Sanchez, and it'd be absolutely terrible if he doesn't get it together. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, he's a coin toss. It's gonna be. Can he live up to it? And another guy that throws me right into another guy with heavy expectations, which would be Matt Rule. 5-11 last year. Obviously, it's his first year in the NFL. He's kind of adding to his roster. This is really his first like real year where he gets to add guys to his team, have a free agency, a draft, kind of instill his scheme a little bit more, his culture. Can he improve, or will he improve as a head coach going into year two, or will we see kind of him stagnate? Because it's kind of a big year, right? Like you jump into years 2 and 3 in the NFL, ownership's kind of, you had your 1 year, now here's your free agency and your draft. Like now we want to see it kick in the gear. Even in Carolina, they're going to put a little bit of pressure on you from the top to start getting some wins.
If you asked me this question a year ago, I would have said I don't think he improves. I don't think he lasts. But now, after watching the Panthers last year, I honestly think he will improve, and they'll be a better team than they were last year. I think Matt Rule is actually a pretty good head coach, and he has a lot of potential to grow. And I think he's going to learn and get better. Just watching the Panthers last year with an injured Christian McCaffrey, Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, and a horrendous defense, they're very limited, but yet they were in close game after close game. They never really got blown out. They might have a couple times, but majority of the Sundays they were in it. They were close games. They were putting up points. They covered the spread a lot of the times, and they really shouldn't have. And, I don't know, Matt Rule kind of sold me last year because the roster wasn't great, and he's got a much better roster this year, and he has a legitimate chance of having a franchise quarterback. So, I expect improvement.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was kind of good. He put Temple on the map when he was at Temple. He built them up, got them going, and then he obviously went to Baylor and won Big 12 Coach of the Year with Baylor in 2019. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy that he instills his culture and he just constantly improves. He's not a coach that's going to kind of just sit back and take whatever happens. Like, he's a guy that's always going to look to work. It's going to get interesting as Joe Brady kind of evolves as an offensive coordinator and eventually, lands himself a job. But I mean, yeah, I think for sure if the weapons stay healthy, if you get what you need to get out of Sam Darnold, J.C. Horn turns out, you get production out of Hassan Reddick, Morgan Fox, if A.J. Boye can be serviceable. Yeah, I think he can for sure improve. Like it's this sky's really the limit. They got a young quarterback. They're gonna have Christian McCaffrey, who kind of got to sit last year and just let his body heal up and come back. And we know what kind of guy he is, even in the pass game and the rush game. So I think he has the tools to do it. Even losing a guy like Curtis Samuel out of that offense, they still have enough tools to continue to improve. And yeah, if that defense even improves just a little bit with the additions, that team can they could exceed expectations that I think all of us have set. And then I'm just going to go. This is similar one to the Falcons question. Will J.C. Horn picking a cornerback over a quarterback at pick 8? Will that pick turn out to be a smart pick by the Panthers? It's obviously a similar situation as the Falcons. They went Sam Darnold, but we don't know if he'll turn out to be the guy. So they pass on quarterback. And then with the thin quarterback draft coming up, if Sam Darnold happens to not be the guy and say J.C. Horn struggles all year, will that pick turn out to be worth what they did?
I think so in the long run. I think there's a decent chance J.C. Horn struggles to start the year just because of being a pro. He was a high draft pick, high expectations, but I don't know. I like J.C. Horn heading into the draft. There were talks about many teams, different teams trading to get him, and maybe Carolina trading down and getting a few more picks. But Carolina was sold on their guy, right? They decided to stay put and get him for a reason. I think he's legitimate cornerback one in the future, and he has the potential to hold down one side of the field or be a lockdown corner in the league. It might take him a little bit to get there, but he has all the tools. I'm a big JC Horn guy. I think he's going to be a really good pick when we look back on it.
Yeah, I think yeah, I mean JC Horn, he's got the athletic 6'1", he's a big cornerback, he plays physical. And I think that's kind of, it emulates a guy like Jalen Ramsey. I'm not going to go ahead and put him on the same level as Jalen Ramsey, but it's like that same play style. You play that physical, they use their body and like to jostle the receivers. And he can also play a variety of coverages with that defense. But yeah, I think they're really instilling everything into Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold gives them production. And then J.C. Horn, even if he struggles, right, the speed of the game, kind of got to get used to it. You're not going to get away with a lot of stuff. You're a rookie corner. You might get called for some penalties that you disagree with. Battling it out. But I mean, I think by the end of the year, he'll have it all together. And that team with Matt Rule leading them will kind of have that group all together. And then obviously, kind of corner in the NFL, it relies on the front, right? If your front doesn't get to the quarterback, you're kind of left out to dry. We've seen that with a lot of teams where their corners are on just an island because their front four cannot get to the quarterback. But I think J.C. Horn overall, even if it's not year 1, year 2, year 3, he'll make the adjustments, make the progression, and the pick will be worth the value. That is saying that Sam Darnold, that's also putting a lot of faith in Sam Darnold. Those two kind of really tie themselves together. So it's interesting. I mean, any real closing stuff on the Carolina Panthers?
I think they're going to be better than most people think.
Yeah, they could. I mean, if you can go ahead and fire out your record for them if you want to go with it first.
Yeah, so the line is 7.5. I think that's a really strong line. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish with 7 wins or 10 wins, but I'm going to go a little bit higher. I got them finishing 9-8 because I like their schedule. I think they have a favorable schedule. Playing the NFC East helps a lot. I think they'll probably win 3 out of those 4 games. They get a Jets matchup, a Vikings matchup. You get the Falcons twice. They get the Texans as well. I just like their schedule. And I think if Sam Darnold can make some strides, I got him finishing 9-8, and I think they barely missed the playoffs.
Got you. Yeah, 7.5. It's an interesting line. They're kind of right on that fringe. Right? They could be an 8-9 win team. They could be a 6 or 7 win squad. When I went through and did their schedule, I had them at 7-10. So I had them getting the under. I just don't know. I can't sit back and say I don't know what Sam Darnold's going to be. Right. So if I'm saying they're going to win 8, 9, 10 ball games, that's assuming that Sam Darnold clicks, and then if he doesn't really click or the defense doesn't really put it together, it's like they could lose the close games. Right, on paper you could think that they'll take 3 or 4, but then it's like if these things don't turn out, same with the Falcons game, you could say on paper it's a sweep, but it's like the Falcons have the offense where if the Panthers defense doesn't make any improvements on the field, they could easily split with the Falcons. So, I mean, I went with this safer 7-10, but they have, if everything clicks and Sam Darnold's the guy and they kind of, Christian McCaffrey stays healthy and the defense shows up, they could get 8-9 wins. I don't think it's out of the question. Actually, the 7.5, I think it's a good spot for them. That puts it right into interesting territory where you really got to sit and evaluate, and you got to put in a lot of risk reward factors when you think of their record this season.
For sure. I think the Panthers are going to play a lot of close games, a lot of also one possession games. But you make a good point, like the Falcons games are no gimmies. And then when they play the Cowboys, the Giants are both on the road. They get Washington at home. I think all three of those games are tough. They'll probably smack our Eagles, unfortunately. But yeah, I think they have the potential, but it's going to be close, right? They're going to have – let's see how their execution is down the stretch when the pressure's really on.
Exactly. Yeah. When everything ratchets up, when it's late in the fourth quarter, you need to drive out of Sam Darnold. How's he going to look? And I mean, we could even see that week one, there's going to be a little nerves facing his former Jets squad. Obviously, on paper, they should beat the Jets, but I mean, there might be a little bit of nerves to get back at that organization. Who knows? But
I think that's going to be his best game as a pro so far. I mean, the bar is not incredibly high. Don't get me wrong, but that would be a very sweet way to start the season. If I'm Sam Darnold, I'm sure he's very much looking forward to it.
Exactly. Well, that's really going to wrap it up for the Panthers. And now we'll jump into probably the best segment of this entire episode here, this preview. We're going to jump into the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, they won the NFC South, which it sounds so weird. The Bucs won the Super Bowl. The Saints actually won the NFC South last year. 12-4 record. For 2021, their win total is set at 9. Their key additions, obviously they retained Jameis Winston. I just put that down there. I think that's big to note. He was kind of in limbo. They brought him back. They went with Peyton Turner in the first round, Pete Werner out of Ohio State in the second round, and then they added Paulson Adebo in the third round out of Stanford. And then they also had tight end Nick Vannett to replace the departing Jared Cook. And then you go over to the losses side of things. Drew Brees obviously retired. Alex Anzalone goes to Detroit. Sheldon Rankins is out. They cut Emmanuel Sanders, Quan Alexander, Janoris Jenkins, Jared Cook, and then Trey Hendrickson obviously signed the big deal with the Bengals, I believe it was. So, I mean, before we jump into fun stuff, I mean, we're here. What do we see with the Saints going into this thing?
I like this Saints team. I feel like I'm in the minority. I think a lot of people are believing there's no more Drew Brees, that the Saints are going to maybe fall off, that it's a rebuilding year for the Saints, but I just disagree. The one thing that does concern me is the amount of key players they lost defensively, but I still think they have a lot of good building blocks. I believe in Sean Payton as a head coach, and I think he can make enough offensive adjustments to kind of cover up his defense. We've seen him do that throughout the years. And honestly, they need something from the first 3-round picks, like cornerback, linebacker, DN. They need them to show up and play good ball. But I like Jameis. Jameis has every tool that you want from a quarterback. He can do everything physically. It's as simple as, can he cut down on turning the ball over? Last time we saw Jameis get a full season as a starter in Tampa Bay, I believe it was close to 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. He had the first 30 for 30, not exactly a great thing, but if he can cut down on those interceptions, I think this Saints team can be really good. I don't think Drew Brees played quarterback at a very high level last year. I think Jameis at this point even last season was a better quarterback than Drew Brees, and I don't see why the New Orleans Saints can't eclipse that win total of 9. I'm high on the New Orleans Saints this year.
He's high on the New Orleans Saints, folks. Well, I'm in the exact opposite. I am not high on the Saints really at all. They lost a lot. They were kind of super cap strapped, so they had to cut a bunch of guys. And then, I mean, I think obviously Drew Brees wasn't great physically. He got hurt. He wasn't amazing. The arm strength obviously deteriorated. But one thing we know about Drew Brees was he was pretty damn accurate and he didn't turn the ball over. And in the NFL, if you give other teams multiple possessions, if you throw 30 interceptions a season, that's 30 extra possessions for your opponents. And when I just go into this season, they added a little because they didn't have any money really to work with. So you're definitely correct on they need production out of the first 3 picks because they couldn't add anything really in free agency. They had to do more cutting. But I mean, they still bring back Marshawn Lattimore. They have C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They have guys up front, Marcus Davenport, Cam Jordan. So like they're up front. I'm really not worried about their defense. It's really the question is, can Jameis Winston not throw interceptions? Can he play smart football? And it's like if you're going to sit right here right now and bank on the Saints, you're banking on a guy who we haven't seen as a starter play smart football and really lock in and make critical, smart decisions at big points in football games. And you're saying that he's going to turn it around. Now, Sean Payton, yeah, he could dial something up, but it's like, how long is really the leash? We know he loves Taysom Hill. So we're going to assume that if Jameis even starts out remotely slow, then you got Taysom Hill coming in, and it gets super murky. It's just like, I can't sit here and put all the marbles and push all my poker chips in on a guy that I haven't really seen play smart football as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, he made some good passes last year. You could argue that he made some better throws than Drew Brees, but it's easy to make throws. I mean, we've watched guys who come into games with it didn't matter what Jameis Winston did last year. Drew Brees was going to eventually come back and take over his starting job, right? So he was playing with house money.
I don't think the playing with house money matters for Jameis. Jameis just goes out there and plays anyway. Like if you go back to when he was in Tampa Bay, like he made pretty throws, like throws where it was incredibly impressive every single game. I think it's really as simple as, can he stop making boneheaded throws, and does he finally realize that he doesn't need every play to be a big play? If he can just cut down on interceptions, I think they're going to be really good. That's like a big if, but I'm willing to bet that he can. I like Sean Payton. I think he works the offense well. No Michael Thomas is a big loss. Michael Thomas is doing the old Shaquille O'Neal method, get hurt on company time, recover on company time. He's going to miss, I think, the first 6 weeks of the season, which is pretty disappointing. But he wasn't really around much last year, and the offense was still pretty lethal. So I like Jameis. Last time Sean Payton had a quarterback that could really throw the ball. So before Drew Brees kind of went on the decline, we have those Jimmy Graham, Marquise Colston years where they would air it out and just pick up yards and chunks. And I think we could see that again this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll see yards, right? You're going to see yards and touchdowns, but I also think you're going to see interceptions. And when you just start gunslinging, I just can't sit here and bet on a guy that we haven't seen it, right? We've seen him. Yeah, he can make throws. He has intangibles, but we haven't seen it as a starter to be the only 30 for 30 guy. I don't know if that's really the accomplishment and the 5,000 yards along with it. I mean, shout out to him because I actually I had the Falcons when he threw that final interception in overtime. So I had the Falcons on a parlay. So, I mean, I guess I can say Jameis is partially my guy for doing that. But, I mean, we kind of really covered the first question. You kind of think Jameis Winston is going to fare well under pressure because now it's his team and it's kind of the microscope's back on him. It wasn't like that last year. It was Drew Brees' team regardless of what he did. So, I mean, I guess we can dabble over it. So you're kind of buying in that now that the pressure is on him, he's going to show up and do his thing.
I think so. I don't think the pressure was ever an issue for Jameis. He had an undefeated season in college and won a national championship. And if we remember his national championship game, he led a comeback to win that game at Florida State. And like, that's a ton of pressure. They had pressure for staying undefeated. They had pressure in that game. I don't think the pressure really bothers him. And then when you jump to the next level, when you get to the pros and he started having pressure, I think the difference was he feels he's physically gifted and he feels he can make every single throw. Like, I'm not saying he's as good as Brett Favre is at all. I'm not saying that. But what I will say is Brett Favre was a gunslinger, and he felt like he can throw the ball in super tight windows and make every single throw. And I think Jameis has that same mentality and has gotten him in trouble. So if he just learns to kind of taper it down, I don't think the pressure is going to bother him at all. I think it's just a mental thing of like just literally making smarter decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fair. I mean, I can't really disagree. Yeah, he's already seen pressure and he's kind of already been a starter in the league, but now there's kind of that expectation of now you're following up Drew Brees and there's kind of really still kind of playoff and Super Bowl aspirations, even though he's jumping in. So it's like he's in a weird spot. I don't think, yeah, I guess the pressure wasn't really a good term because I think he's seen enough of it But yeah, I mean, as we keep going through this, it's every one of these is if he doesn't throw interceptions, if he doesn't do this, if he doesn't play hero ball. Um, and I'm gonna go back to it again. We haven't seen it, so it's the biggest if when you're making a prediction out of somebody that you haven't really seen. So I mean, I'll jump in. Obviously Sean Payton loves Taysom Hill. He included him quite a bit last year. He loves to throw him in. He signed into that big ass contract, which was pretty damn stupid in everybody's estimation. So going into this season, how much Taysom Hill are we going to see in this offense?
So me being high on the Saints, I'm high on the Saints if Jameis is the starting quarterback for the full season. I'm hoping his leash isn't super tight and he throws Taysom out there. I'm sure Taysom's still going to have plenty of red zone packages. That power run or sweep run to like outside zones for like the when they're within like 5 yards of the end zone is pretty unstoppable. So I'm sure Taysom's going to come in for red zone packages and special plays here and there. I'm not high on the Saints. If Taysom Hill is going to be their starting quarterback, I'm not crazy about that. The Taysom Hill thing kind of scares me because, yeah, Sean Payton loves Taysom Hill, and I'm hoping that the leash isn't super short on Jameis because if Jameis is pulled and it's a Taysom Hill season, I don't know. I just don't have the same level of confidence at all in Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I mean, with Sean Payton, we saw him throw Taysom Hill out there, even with a Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. So I think, like, even if Jameis is good, you're still going to see Taysom Hill. Like, Taysom Hill, they kind of, like, with that contract, they have to find a way to get him on the field or they just look like complete morons. So, like, Sean Payton, I don't know why, but, like, he's in love with Taysom Hill. And, like, so obviously, yeah, I think they're shot. If Jameis Winston falters, I mean, they could be even worse than what my prediction is going to come out to be. But yeah, if Taysom Hill ends up somehow stealing the job because Jameis Winston's bad or something goes wrong injury wise, then yeah, obviously we'll see a lot. But I think I'm just going to go off of even if Jameis Winston plays a full season, and I think you'll still see plenty of Taysom Hill in the offense just because with that contract and sucking up their cap room, he kind of has to get plays, whether it's the red zone plays. I mean, I think you'll see him do some. They'll have him throwing some passes even if they're not in the red zone. It's kind of just Sean Payton put his chips into this guy that can play every different position for some weird reason, and he's going to find a way to get him on the field as his Swiss Army knife. I don't really agree with it. It's kind of he kind of has no choice.
No, I agree. I think even if Jameis is a starter all year, even and outside of red zone packages, we're still going to see Taysom Hill, right? He had Drew Brees, a Hall of Fame quarterback, and he would take the ball out of his hands in the red zone and put it in Taysom Hill's hands. I think Sean Payton is also a very arrogant coach. Like I do like Sean Payton as a football coach, not that much as a person. I'm not like the biggest Sean Payton fan, but I do think he's a really good coach, right? And I do feel like Sean Payton thinks he's smarter than everybody, and like utilizing Taysom Hill and using maybe two quarterbacks here and there in games, like it's just kind of another way to say like that he's smarter than the other coaches or that he's better than him. And I do think that kind of matters with Sean Payton because we've seen it in the past where he just runs up the score on people. He did it to Tampa Bay last year. We saw him do it to the Eagles a couple years ago when they were in the Superdome. Like he will run up the score on you. Sean Payton has no problem doing that and just kind of he likes showing that he's smarter than everybody else.
Exactly, and I mean, I think this is a team where we're going to find out, right? It's limited editions, a lot of losses, so we're really going to find out if Sean Payton's arrogance and what he's created here in New Orleans, if he can, if this group can back it up. And then I'm kind of going to jump into my last point with the Saints is obviously we just heard just a week or two ago, Michael Thomas had foot surgery. I believe it was in June, so he had foot surgery. He's on the PUP list now. I just look at it. Can this offense? Can they overcome? Obviously, Michael Thomas, great route runner. I mean, when you look at without him on the field, they're going to have Alvin Kamara, Traquan Smith, Deontay Harris, Adam Troutman. They're kind of going to have a collection of guys where maybe Alvin Kamara is your number one target, and he's their running back. Obviously, Deontay Harris is a burner. Traquan Smith's a bigger guy. But can this offense afford to lose a guy that's sort of a reliable target for maybe I've seen even he could miss half the season, 10 games. And even with Sean Payton's comments this past week, it's where he said he should have probably had the surgery earlier, which is probably not wrong. But even going back to last season, there was trade rumors of Michael Thomas. Will they unload Michael Thomas? Will they do this? So I won't go as far as saying, hey, he won't play at all, right? There's kind of a rift building over this foot thing. But can this offense afford it, and can they overcome him missing maybe half a season, 10 games, or possibly even all the season? He's a very reliable target that runs good, clean routes and can create easy throws for Jameis. And I think that's what Sean Payton, if he's going to get the most out of Jameis, he's going to want a guy like that to create easy plays and kind of take the ball out of Jameis's hands and say, hey, you don't have to go downfield every time. Throw these 5-yard passes and we can hit these dump offs to Kamara and create big plays out of that. But can they overcome missing a key target for this amount of time?
So Michael Thomas is an elite receiver, right? Last time we saw him fully healthy for a season, he like broke the catch record and led the league in yards. Like, it's no doubt a big loss, and the Saints would be much better with him on the field, right? But like, I think they still have enough offensive weapons. Alvin Kamara is debatably one of the best running backs in the game, actually the best running back in the game. He's got a very good skill set receiving wise. You can put him in the slot. He can line up wherever. Harris, like you said, is a burner. I like Adam Troutman a lot at the tight end position. I also like Traquan Smith a lot at the wide receiver position. I think those aren't just like guys. I think those are like really good finds on the part of a New Orleans front office. So I really think they have enough offensive weapons, and I expect Jameis to play quarterback really well. And we keep talking about Jameis's interceptions and if he can make mistakes and like, will he have a short leash or not? Well, like, I think the one thing Jameis has is like the defense lost some positions, but they still have like good cornerbacks and they still have a good pass rush. So like, if Jameis puts them in some unfavorable positions or maybe Kamara fumbles or like, whatever happens, right? I think the defense can bail them out in certain games. So like, the Michael Thomas loss is going to hurt, but I think they have enough talent offensively, and Sean Payton's going to scheme it really well that they can get through the first half of the season without Michael Thomas and still have a winning record and still be on pace to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, I just think, I personally think it's going to hurt. He's such an easy target. He runs such good routes that with him on the field, it's just it's a reliable guy. I mean, Deontay Harris, Traquan Smith, those could be guys. Troutman could be a guy. But it's like none of them have the proven track record that they can be that number one guy. We've seen it with teams like the Eagles when guys start to go down and they're kind of digging into the catacombs and finding these receivers. They look good when other guys are on the field or Hall of Fame quarterbacks are with them, but then when it's kind of all on them. I mean, I expect Alvin Kamara to do his thing. Like, I trust Alvin Kamara, as you said. He's lethal out of the backfield. Sean Payton's going to use him quite a bit in the passing game, I think, a lot, because he's very good in the passing game. But I just think losing a target like that who can create separation, just can create such easy throws for your offense, is going to be an issue. I don't think there's anybody. He's an all-pro receiver. I just think it's tough to overlook losing a guy like that, especially when you have a quarterback he's shaky and he takes a lot of risks. You're kind of like losing a very easy guy to throw the ball to. I keep going back to this easy guy to throw the ball to, but it's really what comes to my head the most because Deontay Harris, you're going to stretch him downfield. And I don't know if Traquan Smith can do the same things as a guy like Michael Thomas in that offense. So I would personally go for it.
So Michael Thomas being a security blanket is a big deal, right? And like they do miss like easy slants or easy plays and easy throws to him, but like the offense is like you got Alvin Kamara as a security blanket still, and like I just think the other guys are gonna be able to get open enough. And I don't think Jameis is gonna be shaky. I think he's gonna play good football. Like that's like it's risky to say, right? But like I'm all aboard the bandwagon this year for Jameis Winston and the Saints. I also think that the Bucs being Super Bowl champions and Bruce Arians and them being in the division and then losing to him in the playoffs, like Sean Payton, once again, we said he's arrogant, right? He's also a sore loser. And I'm sure he was pissed watching Bruce Arians and the Bucs win. And I'm sure Jameis felt a certain way watching Tom Brady walk into what was his team and pretty similar roster to what he had and then immediately turn it around and win a championship. So if there's two guys that are really determined to go out and like show that they have it, and especially Jameis, like I think we're going to see the best that Jameis has to offer this year.
Yeah, you damn well might, because when you look at the Bucs team, not to jump the gun, but it's like they win the Super Bowl and it's like, damn, if I didn't throw 30 interceptions and I didn't do all this wild stuff. And then, Yeah, I mean, but Sean Payton, I mean, the Bucs did their thing, right? You want to be arrogant. The Bucs finally they got the last laugh. You can be as arrogant as you want, but they got the last laugh. They brought back. They're coming back with their group of guys still, and they lost. Yeah, the Saints lost more. Right? The Saints lost a lot of guys, and they have a lot of coin flip guys, and they're kind of really, really, really relying on Jameis Winston to suddenly be somebody that we have not seen um, as a starter.
I got a question for you
Yep.
because both of those guys are going to end up having coached Jameis for a full season, and I'm sure Sean Payton would be able to like to say that he got the better out of Jameis compared to Bruce Arians, and that he did a better job coaching him. Who do you think is a better head coach between those two guys? They both are Super Bowl winning head coaches. They both have damn good resumes, and I'm sure it's pretty close. But if you had to pick one, would you take Bruce Arians or would you take Sean Payton?
Um, I don't know, it's so weird, right? Because Sean Payton's like entire resume, like he, yeah, he had Drew Brees. Well, it's like weird, right? Like both of them, they're made by these Hall of Famers, right? Like Sean Payton had Drew Brees through his whole run, and then Bruce Arians was kind of, uh, he was good. He's called a QB guru, but then it's like he had all these good quarterbacks, and then he didn't get his ring until he got a Hall of Famer in Tom Brady.
Well, he had young Ben Roethlisberger, not head coach. He was interim head coach for Chuck Pagano in 2012, where he had Andrew Luck, and they won a lot of games. And then he had Carson Palmer in Arizona, and then he had Jameis in Tampa Bay, and then obviously that transitioned to Tom.
Yeah. I'd probably say Sean Payton. I'd probably take Sean Payton. I don't like Sean Payton one bit, to be honest, but I'd nudge Sean Payton. Um, he's had history. Like I don't really count. I don't count the interim coach and when you were the assistant, whatever, water boy. Those days, like I just look at it when you were the head coach. So, I mean, this year could push it forward, right? If Sean Payton gets something out of Jameis Winston that we haven't seen, it can kind of be like, well, look, Bruce Arians was the guy that couldn't. He was the QB guru that couldn't fix this guy. So, I don't know. It's interesting, but yeah, I'd probably nudge Sean Payton.
Yeah, I would nudge Sean Payton as well. And you just made the point, like the last point right there. That's what I was getting at, is that little extra nudge to say, because once again, he's arrogant to say he's better, right? I got more out of Jameis Winston than you could. And also, if you're like Sean Payton, also you get the last laugh by beating the Bucs, right? So not only did I beat you, you're the defending champs. I beat you, and I was able to get more out of your guy than you were. You only really did it because you got the GOAT. So it'll be interesting. I just think all those dynamics play in, and I think we're going to see a high level of football from Jameis. It's going out on a limb. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going there. I believe in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's all I got on the Saints. I mean, I'm not all in on them, so I was just straight up go with when I went through they're playing a first place schedule, and I just saw games, yeah, too many question mark games, and I don't really trust Jameis Winston. I have them going 6-11, and I think it was eventually they finished third in the division. I just don't think Jameis is going to clean it up. Like I think you're gonna see sloppy plays. You're going to see the same old Jameis at the end of the day. And Sean Payton will probably eventually become frustrated since he spent years just watching Drew Brees, even though his arm was declining, kind of not make those mistakes and not turn the football over to putting more pressure, right? They have a good defense, but how many times can your defense continue to bail you out if you throw interceptions and put them back on the field and back on the field? Um, so, yeah, I just think the combination of the first place schedule, and then I just think we're going to see the same old Jameis. I mean, he'll make you happy some weeks in fantasy, but we're not doing this. Isn't fantasy, right? I mean, this is we're predicting if this team is going to be successful, and if you're throwing 20, 25 interceptions, your 4,000 yards, it doesn't really matter when you're giving your opponents 25 extra possessions.
Wow, 6-11. I have them going 12-5 on the high end. I do, but just to clarify, I do have the Bucs edging them out and winning the division. I think they split their two games against each other. But yeah, the Saints have a tough division, but You asked how many times can the defense bail him out? I think quite a bit because we saw it last year because Drew Brees just wasn't the same Drew Brees, right? And there's a few times that the defense really bailed him out over and over again. And I think they're capable of doing it for Jameis, and Jameis is more capable of putting up points. Will there be some weeks where Sean Payton probably gets pretty frustrated because Jameis might do some boneheaded things? Probably. But I think if he sticks with Jameis and he lets him be the quarterback for the full year, I think on the high end it'll be 12 wins, which is what I'm leaning towards. But I think the Saints for sure hit 10 wins on the year.
You said for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I will say that everybody's saying rebuilding year. I don't really think it's a rebuilding year. That when you're this far under in the cap, it's not really rebuilding. It's kind of get patched and see what happens. And when they open this mystery box, I don't think they're going to like what happens. But hey, that's what this thing is. You're not going to. We're finally not agreeing on something. So it's a good era in this show. And in 5 months from now, somebody's going to be laughing, right? That's the greatest part about this. Somebody's going to say, "I told you so."
We're gonna 100% revisit this because I had a guarantee of the Saints winning 10 games, so I'm either gonna look really good or incredibly foolish, and I cannot wait to find out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we could almost this team. Yeah, the Saints could be a weekly thing. Jameis could get a weekly segment. That's what type of quarterback he is. But to not sit here and
I like that idea. I might have to do that. The Jameis bandwagon. I'm gonna lead it.
yeah, just how erratic his play is, he could definitely get himself. But let's transition off of the Saints and let's get into the final team in the NFC South. The team that Sean Payton envies, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went 11-5 last year, second place in the division, but obviously that doesn't matter. They got the last laugh. They won the Super Bowl. And this year, going into this year, their over-under on their wins is set at 12. Just before indulging or giving my actual prediction, I'm on the over train. I think just that good. There's not a lot of keynotes, right? Because they returned all 22 starters from their Super Bowl team or from the Super Bowl win. They're the first ever team to do that. So it's kind of like we're in unforeseen territory. Like we've never seen a team win the Super Bowl and then all the guys come right back again. Now, will those guys be just as hungry? Not that they're coming off of a ring and they sat back and partied. I know Tom Brady's going to be pretty damn hungry because that guy locks in. That's all he cares about when it comes down to this. And then really their only addition that was notable was they added outside linebacker Joe Tyron with the 32nd pick. But I mean, what do we say before I jump in? I'll just go ahead and fire out the first question since there's really not that much to talk about the Buccaneers. Will these guys have a Super Bowl hangover at all? Obviously, Tom Brady won't. He's won rings. Rob Gronkowski's won rings. But the rest of these guys, they're kind of they haven't. So have they spent all offseason really refocusing and relocking back in? Because we know Tom Brady takes the preparation seriously. And the second, it's probably even by now in training camp, he's already over last year's ring, and he's on to the next one. So will there be a Super Bowl hangover in Tampa?
I'm going to say no, but I'm also going to ask, like, what exactly do we consider hangover? Because, like, Tom Brady's going to have the team ready, right? He's going to get them be like, hey, because Tom Brady's favorite saying, his favorite ring is the next ring, which is a pretty good one. I'm not going to lie. If we consider a hangover the first month of the season, maybe like a slight one, just because in the past, how many times have we seen the Patriots start slow in September and then they're fantastic the rest of the way? So if they started a little bit slow, maybe like I think worst scenario would be like 2-2 in the first month, and they really get it going. I really don't think they're gonna have a full on hangover throughout the season at all. Tom Brady's just not gonna let it happen. He's so far down in his career that like. He's obviously the GOAT. He's been there so many times that like he knows how to get his team going. And I just think he has no room to waste opportunities, right? Because of his age, and he takes that very seriously. So I'm going to say no, that he's got the team like ready to play from week one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Yeah, as you said, the Patriots started. Yeah, they usually start out. They go 2-2, 3-1. Like they wouldn't look that good, but it's like those Patriots teams also didn't return every single guy from that team. So it's like a lot of we're kind of in, as I said, leading into this, like unforeseen territory. We've never seen a Super Bowl team come back with the same group of guys and run it back. It's usually somebody key, right? They win the Super Bowl and then somebody gets the bag and they're gone. But yeah, Tom Brady's usually locked in. I think we'll have his guys ready to go. But Yeah, it's just interesting, right? We see Super Bowl hangovers. Teams start slow when they win, or teams underperform right after winning. But it's Tom Brady. It's tough to say that a Tom Brady-led team is not going to show up every season ready to rock and chase another ring.
Definitely. And I think they were able to bring everybody back. Like one of the big things is like, because I think everyone in that roster realizes how old Tom is. And if they just stick around, they have a phenomenal chance to win more Super Bowls. And they can always, these young guys can always go and get a bag in a year or two when Tom's retired.
Yeah, that's definitely facts. Yeah, they get to play with him, and they realize that he's going to have us on this stage every year. At least he's going to have us in the playoffs every year, and we're going to get on this stage, national TV games, and we'll be able to show out then, and then cash in later, and yeah, head out of Tampa with 2 or 3 Super Bowl championships, and just enjoy the time playing with a legend of the game. So I'm going to jump in right into point number 2. How will Tom Brady look? He's not 44. And he's coming off of what we found out. He played last year with a torn MCL and he had surgery in the offseason. It's weird. Like, I don't even know. It's like probably some rule violations. Like, Tampa's probably going to get hit with a heavy fine, maybe a loss of a first round pick, because I don't think it's like, I don't think you can conceal an injury like that all year. He wasn't on the injury report. I mean, I'm not going to doubt the man. I doubt he would lie about a torn MCL. That's like, I don't think Tom Brady's in the business of lying to boost himself up and say, I won a Super Bowl on a torn MCL. But obviously, it's another year. Will the arm still be the same? Will the knee? Will he look fine with the knee? What do you see?
You know, I really thought his arm was declining like a year or two ago. He didn't look great his last season in New England. Granted, the roster wasn't fantastic, especially offensively. His final play as a New England Patriot was a pick six against the Titans in the wild card round. And I thought he was going to go to Tampa Bay. I mean, I didn't think he was going to be bad at all. He's Tom Brady, right? He's too smart and knows the game too well to like for him to go out there and just be straight up bad. But I thought his arm was kind of declining like Peyton Manning's last year. He just didn't look like Peyton, or hell, even Drew Brees last year just didn't look like Drew Brees. But Tom is like the biggest outlier ever. So it's like I have no business saying he's not going to do well, especially as a guy that's like thinking Jameis is going to do well. I'm going to just – I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's facts. You can't say Jameis Winston's going to light it up and say Tom Brady's going to suck at 44.
Exactly. I might be high on Jameis, but I'm not a fool. So, yeah, Tom Brady's going to play good football. He's going to do what he does, right? I have no doubt that he's going to go out there and look good.
Yeah, same here. And I'm with you. That last year in New England, I was like, this guy might be toast. But then I was like, shit, you have an old dude playing in the freezing cold, like, right, throwing the ball in the cold at that age. I think that definitely played a factor. He gets to play down in Tampa. It's warmer weather, sling the ball around. I think even when you saw in the NFC title game against Green Bay in that second half, he kind of looked like that Tom Brady from his last year in New England, where the ball wasn't really going as much. It didn't have that much zip on it in that cold weather. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Tom Brady's going to be dialed in. I don't know if he'll look great the first month, but it's like he'll always, when it matters, Tom Brady's going to show up and he's going to find a way to do it. We've seen him do it my entire life. It's kind of annoying, but I've kind of like turned the corner. A lot of people hate him, but it's like I've kind of started to grow and just respect him more and more, because it's like you're not really going to, we probably won't see another guy like this. Like, it's not really a dude that was supposed to be a nobody, even a guy that's supposed to be a somebody. Like, yeah, I don't even know if Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, if he can replicate what Tom Brady is doing, even with all the intangibles that he has. Like, it's kind of, I think he's going to be dialed in, even coming off the surgery. And it's just I'm going to enjoy the last couple of years of Tom Brady's career instead of kind of hating on him, how a lot of people like to do.
Oh, I agree entirely. I was not a Tom Brady guy for the longest time. I was a bit of a hater. And he's just been to so many Super Bowls, and I've seen him do such incredible things. I think it really flipped for me personally was the 2016 Super Bowl, the Atlanta Falcons one, just watching that comeback. I started the game off rooting for Atlanta, and I was happy because, you know, they got off to a hot start. Everyone knows how that game went. And then just as the comeback got closer and closer, I just found myself just so impressed watching greatness. Like, I just love watching greatness. There's a reason I love watching LeBron James play. Like, it's just fun to watch. And like, I found myself rooting for New England. I was happy that they made the comeback and win, because like, it's just a rare and special thing. We probably will never see something like this ever again. So yeah, I'm here for the ride. I'm here to appreciate it.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm same with you, especially with that Falcons Super Bowl. I was rooting for the Falcons heavy because it was screw Tom Brady, screw the Patriots. We've seen them win so many times, and then when I suddenly started watching the Falcons just piss the game away, I was like, you know what? And I see it tilting, and I'm like, I can't. This team's mismanaging the game so bad that it's like I almost want to see this historic comeback. Like I want to see Tom Brady do this, and the Patriots do it. As much as it hurts to root for him, but yeah, I would agree.
That's the same reason I was so scared watching him get the ball back against the Eagles. Even the very last play, post Brandon Graham strip sack, and he had a heave to the end zone. It's Tom Brady, so it just felt like he was going to do it somehow. I was terrified that entire fourth quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Tom Brady he's something else that people should sit back and just enjoy greatness. He's kind of in like that Floyd Mayweather territory. He's so successful that people just want to hate on him. They want to see him finally lose or keep it going. I just have one last thing on the Bucs is can their front dominate like they did last year? Right, that was a big thing, especially in the Super Bowl. How they attacked Patrick Mahomes, they were super aggressive. Their secondary was also pretty good, but it was really the front that made the secondary's job so much easier when you're attacking the quarterback like that and creating pressures and making the opposing quarterback rush throws and make throws that he doesn't want to make. Can their front continue to steamroll like they were? Can they continue to get the production out of Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul's there, and that group? I believe they still have Levante David.
Yeah, I think they will. If anything, if they don't produce as well, I think it's going to be like a minute difference, maybe like a little bit worse, but they're still going to be elite. Um, to be fair to the Kansas City Chiefs, their offensive line was in shambles, and we saw Andy Reid be classic Andy Reid and not make adjustments. He thought he could still try and throw the ball down the field and let plays develop instead of doing quick plays and getting the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. Andy Reid's a stubborn coach. It was unfortunate to watch, but the D-line still did their thing, right? If they were to not play as well this year, I don't think they'll play bad. I think they'll still be elite, right? Their level of production was just so high last year. It might drop off a little bit, but I still think it's going to be very, very good.
Yeah, they're hungry and they're feeding off that Tom Brady energy. It's kind of just like the team, right? When you have a guy like Tom, you're going to show up to work and try a little bit harder, and they're just going to keep it rolling. I mean, those guys, they're veterans. They've been there. They got a super young, good secondary. They just kind of have everything going. And I believe Raheem Morris is still the defensive coordinator there. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure he is. I don't think they lost him as the coordinator. That guy just made adjustments. I mean, when you watch the first Chiefs game to the Super Bowl Chiefs game, the adjustment and the willingness to not get burnt over the top on defense, I just think they're willing and they can adjust so well that I would expect, as you said, if it's a drop off, it'll be very small and they'll just keep it rolling. I mean, Ndamukong Suh, I don't even know if Vita Vea played the whole year last year, but he's back.
Wasn't it? It was Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles. Why did I say Raheem Morris? Wasn't that the old head coach there?
You said that, and I was like, I think it was Todd Bowles, wasn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
Todd Bowles.
Yeah, that's my bad. Producer, edit that out. It's like there is no edits. Yeah, that's my mistake. Todd Bowles. I knew it was one of those guys. I don't know why I said Raheem Morris, but Todd Bowles' ability to adjust when it came time to make adjustments. I think he's one hell of a D coordinator. There's just some guys that don't pan out as head coaches, and they're better as coordinators, and he's just one of those guys. And
agreed. I think him having head coaching experience was like a massive advantage last year, and I think he didn't go anywhere, right? So he's going to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. They just have too much. They have everything back, right? It's tough to pick against a unit that gets every single piece to the puzzle back, and they have that experience of that playoff run and that Super Bowl. So, I mean, I'm with you. When I sat back and went through their schedule, I had the Bucs finishing this year at 14-3. I just think they're just going to do their thing. They'll lose a couple. I mean, I could see them 13-4 would even be fair, but I see them at least 13 wins. Like, I just think they get the second place schedule, and there's not that many coin flip games. I think they'll dominate the division, and they'll do.
I was just about to ask that. You have them sweeping the Saints?
I believe I do. Yeah, I have them.
Oh, man.
I have them sweeping the Saints. They will probably eat Jameis alive. They will eat the W.
In the Superdome?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if the Superdome will be rocking as hard after 2 interceptions. So
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I'm sorry, your prediction was 14-3, right?
yeah, I had 14-3.
Yeah, I got them 13-4, right? So I had the Saints 12-5, and I got the Bucs edging them out at 13-4. They're clearly the team to beat in the division and the NFC conference. They're defending champs for a reason, right? Tom Brady, everything we just said. I like that Saints team a lot, but like it's definitely the Buccaneers division to lose, no doubt. I have the Saints splitting the games with them. I'm curious, what were your 3 losses you had them?
Off the top of my head, I know it was at Washington. They go to Washington. I just like Washington's defense. Washington was arguably their toughest playoff game last year in that wild card round. They gave them fits. So I think Washington on the road, and then who was it? I think I had the Bills and Josh Allen going into Tampa winning. Damn, I forget the third game. I really do.
Was it the Rams in LA?
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, it was the Rams on the road in LA. I believe that's the beginning of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, week 3.
Yeah, week 3 on the road. It's kind of in that territory. Who do they open with? They open Cowboys at home. Who's the second game? I know it's at home.
Falcons at home.
Yeah, so they get 2 cookie cutter games at home, and then it's like you kind of bang, you ramp it up. You're going on the road to face Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, and those boys, and obviously Matt Stafford. So I just think, yeah, those are the 3 losses.
Okay, I was just curious. Yeah, I have them losing to the Rams as well. I actually have them losing to New England at home, so I guess I would have them having a hangover to start the year at 2-2. And then I got them reeling a bunch off. I got them splitting with the Saints, so they lose at home. And then the other one that I think is kind of underrated, I think it's going to be a fun matchup. We'll obviously talk about it when it gets closer. But Week 12, they head into Indianapolis to face the Colts. It'll be interesting because Carson Wentz, we'll see what we get out of him. But I think it's one of those games where like the Colts can just upset them. They'll be at home. They have a good roster. But yeah, there's going to be some coin flips. The Bills coming in. I was just curious which actual losses you had because the Bucs. There's some talk about 17-0. I don't think that'll happen because that's just such an astronomical feat. But
Yeah, hell no. I don't know who goes on. I mean, dudes go on ESPN to do that just for fun. But like, I don't know how you can literally sit here and say a team's going to go undefeated. Like, I just don't see it. Like, they very well could lose the Colts game. I just think by that time it's week 12. It's like Tom Brady dial it in season. So it's like, I think I'm with you. Like, if they're going to lose games, I think it'll be earlier rather than they hit the stride. But yeah, that's really, I mean, yeah, those are my 3.
yeah, I was just curious. So I got them, 13, 14 wins. The win total line is crazy, 12, right? That's just such a high number, but I think you're kind of crazy if you hit the under. Returning all the starters. I think their worst case scenario is like 11 wins next year. I definitely think they'll get like 13 or 14, but like that's an incredibly high line, a 12 win total. It'll be fun to see what happens. 17-0, let's count that out there. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I would say their worst is 12 on the dot. If I'm being honest, like if that was the floor, I'd say probably it's right on the number at 12. But I mean, that's where we wrap for the Buccaneers. You got anything before we wrap this thing up on the NFC South?
Nope. Excited to watch my boy Jameis play. That's about it.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll tell Jimbo to send you a jersey.
Please do. Hungry for some W's.
Yeah, you just got to make sure it doesn't get intercepted in the mail. But that's going to wrap it up, really. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. I want to thank everybody for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for the show, please drop them in the comments. We'd always love to read comments and see feedback from whoever tunes in. As always, the Spotify link, if you're an audio-only person, will be in the description. And that's going to do it. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will see you on the next one.